Well, you'll have to listen fast because I'm going to do both talks in one. The kind of the series we've been doing here is how to kick the devil out of your garden, and how to kick the devil out of your kitchen, and how to kick the devil out of your life. And one that we were listed to talk with the other day was bloodless surgery, and I gave that one up to someone else so they could finish something they wanted to talk about, which was very important. And so today I'm going to do bloodless surgery, and I'm also going to do how to kick the devil out of your physical body in a surprising way. Today we're going to learn how people escaped the big C. You know what that is. Cancer in many forms. Brain tumors. Problems they didn't know what was wrong with them. You know, they were just sick. And yet they were able to overcome those when they went on God's natural remedies. Start off first of all with a personal experience, and Brother and Sister Wilson were here, and I got this from Brother Wilson last 1 year ago, almost a year ago. I'd been having a pain going across the top of my head and didn't pay no attention to it, too busy to think about it. And one day I leaned over to tie my shoe, and I felt like my face was falling off on the floor. I knew immediately what it was. It was a brain tumor. I've got a tumor right here, the head of it, and it's been growing for 40 years. It slowly went to the back of my neck and got to the top of my head and went across there. So I made an appointment with the doctor. I was going to get the MRIs and all that, you know, and then I immediately started calling all my circle of friends, the support people that know more than I do. You know, none of us are as smart as all of us, are we? None of us know everything. And so when I get stuck, and I do get stuck, I call my friends, and they've never, ever failed me. We always find a way with the natural remedies. And this was one with Artemisia, and you've heard about that. I took the Artemisia, and within just days, that pain was walking right back the path it had started, right down the back of my neck. Took about 6 months to get it down to here. Right now, I've got it dead down to about here. So I tell you that because it's a personal experience. I'll tell you another one. When I was at Madison, I had a cancer on my lip. And one of the sisters here wanted me to share this. I'd forgot about it until I was standing in the lunch line. I said, well, I'll put that in the lecture. And so I took sheep sorrel. Or I didn't take sheep sorrel. You could have used sheep sorrel. I took wood sorrel. I don't know if you have wood sorrel out here or not. We have a lot of it in Tennessee. And it grows in shady places around bases of trees and on the edges of the forest and so forth. And it's just a little short plant like that, and it looks like clover. Thank you. And it has a little yellow flower on it. The best time to pick it is when it has the flower. Don't pull it out by the roots, please. Cut it. I want to leave the roots in there so it can grow back. And took that, put it in a blender, blended it all up, and strained it through a T-shirt, and got it all out there, threw the pulp away. Put that in a glass, a pie pan. Put it out in the sun. And the sun drew all the moisture out of it, and you don't want it to get real hard. You want to kind of watch it there, and that water comes out in a hurry with that sun. It's just a couple of hours, and the water's out. So you get it so it's a paste, and I took it about the size of a match head, and I put that right on that cancer. If it's not a cancer, it won't do anything. If it's a cancer, it'll start burning. It ain't funny. It burns. I mean, it's going right down into the root. That thing swelled up about that thick. There was blood and pus and everything coming out of it, slowly oozing out, you know. I had a big old Band-Aid on it, and I had a straw hat on and bib overalls on. After about 4 days of that, I couldn't stand it anymore. The pain was terrific. One of the nice things about that particular way of killing a cancer, though, is you can control it. By when it dries out, it quits hurting. And so it gives you a little bit of relief, and then some sweat comes down if you're working. It gets it wet again, away it goes again, you know. Or you can just put a little water on and off it goes. Now, those of you who know about black salve, when you put that on a cancer, you can't stop it. It's going to go right to the bottom, and I don't really recommend black salve. It kills cancer, but I don't recommend it because it hurts so bad. A friend of mine just took a tumor out that way. She said it was the hardest thing that she'd ever done, and some of the people here know what I'm talking about because they've done it. And the thing about it is, though, if the cancer has a root going through a blood vessel, it will go right through that blood vessel, and it could cause a hemorrhage, and you're going to have to go to the hospital maybe to stop the hemorrhage. So I don't recommend the black salve because you may end up, if you don't have a backup system, I wouldn't do it. Sometimes you need to go to the doctor and get that taken care of if you have a hemorrhage. So those are a couple of the ones that we did. Elder Dwight Davis, I don't know how many here know him. Back in 1987, Elder Davis called me in the middle of the night and said, Brother Morton, he says, I hear you're running a health clinic. And he said, he told me his symptoms. He said, I'm passing out every day. He said, and I can't preach, can't drive the car. They've turned me out to pasture $450 a month, and I can't live on it. Don't know what I'm going to do. He says, can you help me? I said, no, I can't help you, but we can teach you how to help yourself. So he came over, and we just put him on a simple cleanse. We didn't know what was wrong with him. We knew he was passing out. But one of the things about our modalities is we don't, we're not as particular about analyzing what caused it, because in a general statement they say there's only one cause of disease, and it's toxemia. And if you clean the person out, the toxemia will go away and the disease will go away. Spirit of Prophecy says ascertain the cause, eliminate it. And so what we did, since we didn't know what was wrong with him except this symptom, but we didn't know the cause, and we put him on a cleanse. I put him on fresh food, no preserved food. Everything was fresh, and it was easy to do at that time because it was in the summertime. And we put him on colonics. And there was a big controversy in the church about colonics, whether we should have colonics or not. Well, we know that colonics work. We know that John Harvey Kellogg did colonics. I had John Harvey Kellogg's head nurse as a patient one time. And she was a very old lady, and I said, well, how could it be that you were his head nurse? She says, well, I was very young, and he was very old at the time. So that's how that happened. And so I know that he did colonics, and we know they work. And within 3 days, Elder Dwight Davis was no longer passing out. We didn't have to diagnose him. We just followed the cleansing program. And so then he says, I'm going to celebrate. I'm going to eat my favorite food. I said, uh-oh, what's that? He said, Vegalinks. He ate the Vegalinks, to make a long story short, and the next day he passed out again. And he had been through, you know, all of our major places. He had been through Loma Linda. He'd been through Weimar twice. But the cleansing is the strongest thing that we can do. We had an MD in Nashville, Dr. Helen, and she had stage 4 melanoma, was given up for, you know, that was the end for her as a death certificate. She was on death row, wasn't she? Her own medical doctors told her there was nothing we can do for you. Prepare to die. Well, her husband, Dr. Billy Burks, put her on the natural remedies. And in this case here, he used a remedy that a medical doctor discovered many years ago, but you don't hear about it. Why? Can't get a patent on it. If you can't get a patent on it, you can't make money on it. So it was nothing but hydrogen peroxide. Cancer cannot live in the presence of oxygen. Scientific fact. Hydrogen peroxide saved Helen's life. I'm so grateful for that. She's such a wonderful lady. Comfrey is called the knitter and the healer. If you don't have comfrey growing in your garden, and you can get it, do it. Comfrey. Now, a few years ago, it was taken off the market by the FDA because they said it was a poison. But one of the big herb companies sued the FDA, won the case. So the comfrey's back. I will caution you against comfrey root as far as internal use, but I use comfrey tea all the time. It works fantastic. We had a pastor in Milwaukee. I was speaking there, and I didn't even know that he was sick until I got there. And one of the most amazing things. I remember that beautiful church. It was looking over the lake, and it was an old mansion. And right outside that church, there was a huge ginkgo tree. It was as big as the church. What a beautiful big ginkgo tree. But anyway, he was announcing that day that he was going to have a 6-month sabbatical because of the tremendous pain in his back. And so the same thing, comfrey. I said, well, do you have any comfrey? And they said, yes. I said, well, make a poultice of it, put it on his back, let him sleep on it tonight. Next Sunday morning, I had a long line of people that I was counseling, and we had 30 or 40 people lined up there, and we'd line them up and find out what their problems were and tell them which herbs to take. And he came down and announced, I'm not healed totally, but my pain is gone. And that's why he was taking a sabbatical. He was in so much pain. The pain was gone in one night. The knitter and the healer, that's what it's called. It's fantastic. I was teaching an adult education class at PUC in the evening, and we had a man come in. He says, my teeth are all loose. What can I do for that? I said, take up chewing. He said, what do you mean take up chewing? I don't use tobacco. I said, I didn't say tobacco. Chew comfrey. Chewed comfrey. The next week he came back, his teeth were all tight. That interests you as a dentist, John. And if you will just learn to put these herbs in your garden, they can be free for you. They can be free for your neighbors. What an outreach you can have. Of course, you go to the health food store, you've got to pay for the shipping and somebody to pick it, and the workman is worthy of his hire, isn't he? I'm in that business, so I know what the biggest cost of all is the insurance. My son Joel was burned severely in an oil field fire. The whole side here, everything was burned. The skin was gone. And I was there within about 10 minutes after he hit the hospital. This was in Kentucky. And I could see him. He was in there in the emergency, and he was just shaking. And they announced, they said, Joel, your dad's here. And he stopped shaking. He didn't want his dad to see him shaking. My son doesn't look anything like me. He's about 6 foot tall, not a little guy like me. And he's a raw-boned guy. And here, the skin was gone. It was black, charred. So I walked in and I said, Doctor, I said, I have a cure here for burns. Aloe vera. I'd like you to try it. Can't do it. And he turned around and he had a big book there, and he just whipped through that book. The guy really knew his business. And he pointed to it and he said, see that? It's listed as a poison. And I said, really? Chug, 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 chug. Drank it in front of him. What's the antidote? But my son, I had to back off of that because it was an insurance deal. And so I backed away from it and waited until they put him in in his room. I went in, I took the aloe vera and I put it in a different bottle, a squirt bottle. I said, son, just squirt that stuff right down through those bandages. And he did. Come back the next day, I said, how you doing? He says, it's terrible. He says, this is itching me so bad I can't hardly stand it, I can't scratch. And I said, well, it's healing so fast, that's why. I said, I'll be right back. So I went to the health food store and I got some vitamin E oil. I brought that up and I said, squirt that through there. So he did. And he was told that he was going to be scarred. He doesn't have a scar. You can't tell it ever happened. Earlier, when he was 14 years old, he had a severe burn. I didn't have aloe vera. All we had was honey. Honey is one of the most fantastic burn cures there is because it covers it, and the honey changes to a hydrogen peroxide, a dilute solution of hydrogen peroxide right next to the skin, and disinfects it. So these are some of the things that I have done through the years, and so we'll stop with that one now. That's pretty much how to kick the devil out of your life when you're having emergencies and so forth. There's other things that we can do, and we'll get into those here with the bloodless surgery end of it.